Assalamu alaikum. The question is, are the Sefirot God, according to the Zohar, according to the Kabbalah? The answer is yes, and today I'm going to be showing you quickly uh, just a couple of the evidences from the Zohar itself. So, in order to do this, let us have a look at the map of the Sefirot. So here you'll notice a couple things. You have a bunch of these different Sefirot. So one of these Sefirot I want you to note is that there is a Sefirot known as Bina. Then there's a Sefirot known as Tiferet. And finally, there's a Sefirot known as Malkut. Also, Yesod and Malkut. Malkut is actually another name for Shekhinah. So as you'll see here, they mention Shekhinah and Malkut is the same. They're the same Sefirot. So here on another diagram, you see, for example, this one is called Shekhinah instead of Malkut because they're the same thing. Also notice there's another Sefirot here known as Hesed. Okay, so let's begin with Hesed. What is Hesed? How do we define Hesed? Because this is one of the Sefirot, so we want to see, well, how do we define these Sefirot? Because there might be some disagreements amongst Kabbalists about what the nature of the Sefirot are. Are they God? Are they, what are they, right? But fortunately for us, we can actually answer this question directly from the Zohar itself, because the Zohar itself asks the question, who is Hesed, and it answers it for us. So if we want a definition of one of the Sefirot, we don't have to argue, we can just turn to the Zohar. So here's volume 2 of the translation of the Zohar by Daniel C. Matt, and this is the primary text from the Zohar, and you'll see the Zohar itself defines what Hesed is. And remember, Hesed is one of the Sefirot. The Zohar asks, who is Hesed? The answer is El, meaning God, flowing forth from supernal wisdom. This flowing forth from supernal wisdom means it's an emanation from God. But you'll notice the Zohar asks the question, who is Hesed? And then it defines Hesed as being God himself. So Hesed, who is Hesed? God. Then the mention of how it's he's flowing forth from himself, meaning it's his emanation. Right? So it's God and God's emanation. So when I say that the Sefirot are God according to the Kabbalah, that is coming directly from the Zohar, because the Zohar here defines for exactly that one of the Sefirot is God himself. And so what you can do here is you can think, well, if one of the Sefirot, the definition of it is God flowing forth from supernal wisdom, then of course we can just apply that same definition to the other Sefirot. Just like Hesed is God himself, according to the Zohar, thus the other Sefirot are God as well, right? That's pretty simple. If one of the Sefirot is defined like that, then of course the other Sefirot, which remember they are separate from each other, they are different, they're not each other. So if one of the but if one of these Sefirot is being defined as God itself by the Zohar, then of course we can think of the other Sefirot in this manner as well. So Bina would be God himself, Tiferet would be God himself, Yesod would be God himself, Malkut would be God himself, but yet these are all separate from each other. Right? And this is the idea I'm trying to show you, that according to the Zohar, you have this sort of Trinity slash Hinduism idea. So the definition of one of the Sefirot, according to the Zohar itself, is that it is God himself. So the Sefirot are clearly God according to the Zohar. But we can find even more evidence for this. So this is, I believe, Zohar 3:11b. And you'll notice the Zohar is speaking about the Sefirot. And one of the aspects of the Sefirot is that they are the names of God, according to the Zohar. They're the names of God and his attributes. And so the Zohar says, these are the 10 names, the Sefirot. These are the 10 names by which the Blessed Holy One is called, all interlinked in complete union. These are the holy crowns of the king by which he is recognized. They are his name and he is they. When they are linked as one by the fragments of incense, then it is called qitoret or something. Binding, bound as one. The point here I want to show you is that it says they are his name and he is they. So what are the Sefirot? One of the meanings of Sefirot are that they are God's names, right? They're not just God's names, they're his attributes according to the Kabbalah. So they are his name and he is they. So these Sefirot, I want to focus on this part. It mentions he is they. So the Sefirot, he is they. So God himself, he is the Sefirot. So that's another evidence that the Sefirot are God according to the Zohar. The fact that it mentions that he, meaning God, is they. He is the Sefirot. So previously we saw one of these Sefirot is defined as God himself, and here we find the Zohar is saying he, meaning God, is the Sefirot. He is they, right? So let me show you the commentary, and then I'm going to show you that the Sefirot are a lot more than just names of God. So in the commentary, it mentions they are his name and he is they. This is Daniel C. Matt's commentary. The Sefirot constitute God's name, revealing his qualities and essence. He is identical with them. So he, meaning God, is identical with the Sefirot. Okay? He is identical with the Sefirot. Now you might say, well, okay, but these are just God's names, as we just read. These are nothing more than his names. Is there a problem with God having multiple names? Well, the answer to that is, according to the Zohar, the Sefirot are not just the names and attributes of God, they're so much more than that. And so let's see a scriptural evidence of that right here. It is volume 1, page 197. Mystery of the matter. Supernal Mother appears with the male only when the house is arrayed, when male and female join. She then pours blessings upon them. Who is the Supernal Mother here? If you read the Zohar, the meaning of Supernal Mother here is Binah. As we go to this commentary, it mentions Supernal Mother appears, meaning Binah. The Divine Mother manifests only when Tiferet and Shekhinah join. So notice a couple things here. Number one, the mention of Tiferet and Shekhinah joining. Remember, Tiferet and Shekhinah are two of these Sefirot. So if they're joining, then at one point they must have been separate. And then they join together, which shows you they're distinct, they're separate from each other. And they can come together, but they're distinct. Not only that, but there's the mention of Binah. You'll see Binah is also a Sefirot. So now think about this text again, keeping in mind that the Supernal Mother is the Binah, is one of the Sefirot known as Binah. Let's go to the text. Mystery of the matter. Supernal Mother appears with the male only when the house is arrayed, when male and female join. She then pours blessings upon them. So she meaning, so look what Binah, one of the Sefirot, is doing. She's appearing when male and female join. Male and female here is a reference to Tiferet and Shekhinah. And now what is Supernal Mother doing, who is Binah, one of the Sefirot? She is then pouring blessings upon them. So it is clearly more than just names. Furthermore, we read in this passage, similarly, Lower Mother appears with the male only when the house is arrayed, when the male approaches his female and they join as one. She then pours blessings upon them. What is Lower Mother? Lower Mother here is Shekhinah. So Shekhinah manifests only when husband and wife establish a house and join together. Right? So then there's the mention of so now think about this. Shekhinah is appearing with the male only when the house is arrayed, etc., etc. She then pours blessings upon them. So Shekhinah is pouring blessings. So these are clearly more than just names, right? And then it says here at the end, so a man at home is adorned with two females as above. What is the mention of two females? It means adorned with both his wife and Shekhinah. As in the Sephirotic realm, Tiferet is adorned both with his partner Shekhinah and the Divine Mother Binah. So you can see how these are clearly more than just names. So the desires of so this corresponds to the mystery written until the desire of hills of eternity. The desire of hills of eternity extends to this until supernal female to array, adorn, and bless him. Lower female to unite with him, be nourished by him. So now we go back to here. Now that you've understood the Shekhinah and the Binah and the Tiferet and all these things are so much more than just names. Now remember the Zohar says he is they. They here is a reference to the Sefirot. He is they. He is the Sefirot. So and remember again, these Sefirot were previously defined. Bina or one of these Sefirot, Hesed, was specifically defined as God Himself. So these are clearly God according to the Sefirot, according to the Kabbalah. Now we notice here. I'll give you some more evidence. It mentions this is Daniel Simat's explanation actually, but you'll find this passage in the Zohar, as in it being mentioned in the Zoharic language. But here Daniel Simat explains that according to the Zohar, Adam drove out, aka divorced Shekhinah, splitting her from her divine partner Tiferet and from himself. Once as Adam, humanity was wedded to God. So remember, so here Adam divorced Shekhinah, and Shekhinah split from her divine partner Tiferet. Remember, Tiferet and Shekhinah are two Sefirot. So clearly these were separate, or these were at once one, and they were married together. Then they were split, so they are separate from each other. Yet they're both God. So this is clearly a Trinity sort of belief. So here it mentions, we do not know who divorced whom, if the blessed Holy One divorced Adam or not. But the word is transposed. He drove out Et. Precisely. Who drove out Et? Adam. Adam actually drove out Et. Consequently, it is written, Yovhe Wovhe Elohim expelled him from the Garden of Eden. Why did he expel them? Because Adam drove out Et, as we have explained. What is Et here, by the way? If we go later on in the Zohar, Et is defined as Shekhinah. So here in the commentary, you'll see this. Here, as often in the Zohar, Et becomes a name of Shekhinah, right? So Adam actually drove out Et. By dividing the biblical sentence, he drove out Adam into two units. Rabbi transforms its meaning. The first consists of he drove out Et. The second unit identifies the subject of the sentence, which is shockingly not God but Adam. His sin consists in divorcing Shekhinah. Okay, so the point here I wanted to show you here is that now the Zohar is saying that Adam split, he divorced, he drove out Shekhinah. So clearly these are more, the Sefirot are more than just names and attributes, yet they're all supposed to be him, they're all supposed to be God. If we go here, again there's the mention of Adam divorced Shekhinah, divorcing her from Tiferet, and consequently also from himself, right? Adam's sin has driven Shekhinah from the garden and dissolved her union with Tiferet. Okay, I think this is the final thing. Or okay, I have a couple things. Okay, so here again, the Zohar mentions these are the 30 celestial years, etc., etc. Uh, Drawing on them, he drew near, but the three he did not attain. They approached him, giving to him wholeheartedly, but he did not approach them. Still, although he was not counted as one of them, David set him over his bodyguard, for he never faded from the tablet of his heart. They were never separated. David set him close, not conversely, for with the praises, songs, and love that the moon offers to the sun, she draws him toward her so that he dwell with her. This is David set him over his bodyguard. David here is symbolizing Shekhinah. So as the commentary mentions, David set him bodyguard. King David, who symbolizes Shekhinah, yearns to unite with Yesod. Bodyguard renders the Hebrew, okay, etc. So the point here is Shekhinah yearns to unite with Yesod. Remember, Yesod and Shekhinah are two Sefirot. So before Tiferet and Shekhinah got divorced, now Shekhinah wants to unite with Yesod. So these are clearly a lot more than just names according to the Kabbalah. And remember, I showed you the passage where Hesod, which is one of the Sefirot, is defined as God himself. Who is Yesod? Asked the Zohar. God flowing forth from supernal wisdom. So it's who is Hesed? God flowing forth from supernal wisdom. So just like Hesed is God himself, clearly according to the Zohar, we can apply the same logic throughout. Not only that, but the Zohar clearly says they or he, meaning God, is they. He is the Sefirot. So that's another evidence the Sefirot are God. But not only that, but we saw clearly now that the Sefirot are a lot more than just names. These are busy, interactive with each other, separate from each other, yet they can unite and this and that. And yet they're all God, as I clearly showed you. He is them. God is these Sefirot. These Sefirot are Hesed, for example, is defined as God himself, yet these are separate. So all of these are God, and they're separate from each other, yet they're one at the same time. They're distinct, they're busy, they're interactive with each other. They're all defined as God. God is defined as, he is them. God is said to be the Sefirot, etc., etc. And that is clear evidence that what you've got here, according to the Zohar itself, doesn't matter what a certain Kabbalist might tell you, according to the Zohar itself, and this is why many Kabbalists will admit to this and agree to this, and this was the original, most widely held view. The Sefirot are God Himself, according to the Sefirot, according to the Zohar, as I've clearly shown you. So this really is a sort of Trinity slash Hinduistic belief. Trinity being that these are three different persons, they're all God, yet they're one at the same time. Yeah, these are Jesus is God, the Father is God, the Spirit is God, yet there's only one God. The Hinduism belief that Brahman sort of emanated out these multiple gods, and in the Zohar you have Ein Sof emanating out these different Sefirot. Some would say that it actually does mean that he created these Sefirot. In that sense, you'd have an aspect of God that is created, but the point still being that there would still be emanations from God, and they would still be God, right? And so it's similar to how Brahman emanates out the different gods, and so here you have all these different things are God, yet they're separate from each other. They interact with each other, just like how Jesus interacts with the Father. He's separate from the Father, yet they're one at the same time. They're supposed to be one God. This is a logical belief. It is a polytheistic belief, and this really shows you that Judaism today is not monotheistic, it is polytheistic. They believe in multiple gods, and Islam is the only monotheistic religion. I call the Jews to come back to the teaching of Moses, and the teaching of Moses was, as Allah mentioned in the Quran, وَإِلَهُكُمْ إِلَهٌ وَاحِدٌ لا إله إلا هو الرحمن الرحيم. And your God is one God. There is nothing worthy of worship except Him, the most merciful, the ever merciful. This is what Allah stated in the Quran, uh, and this is also what Moses taught the people. And if you want to follow Moses today, you have to follow Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and what he has brought is in accordance to what the prophets before, such as Moses, brought, peace be upon him. I don't have the original writings of Moses anymore, and the religion that now the Jews follow is not the teachings of Moses. This is a very different religion at this point. Even the Old Testament does not go back to Moses. Even the first 5 books don't go back to Moses. So you don't have the authentic teachings. However, if you want to follow Moses, if you want to follow the prophets, you have to follow the final messenger, the final prophet, whose teaching is actually preserved, and that is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when you follow him, you'll find the teaching of one God is exactly in line with what the previous prophets brought, not this weird Sefirot, Ein Sof, marrying each other, separating, divorcing, Adam divorced Shekhinah, etc., etc. This is not what the prophets taught. So I call you to come back to the original religion of the prophets, peace be upon him. And the prophet that is valid for today is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you follow him, you follow Moses and the prophets before him.